The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And boy, have we got a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I never, ever, ever have I agreed with State Representative Carole Fiola. I mean, I even get a frog in my throat just to say State Representative Carole Fiola. But her recent guest opinion in the Herald News, which was 1,100 words, by the way, 1,100 words, confirmed exactly what Chip and I have been talking about for years. Can you imagine that? They actually confirmed what we're talking about. And I have to go directly to these two paragraphs here. The goal of the Commonwealth's 1969 Affordable Housing Law, which is known as Chapter 40B, is to make at least 10% of every Massachusetts community housing stock affordable for moderate income households. It doesn't say low, it says moderate. The Department of Housing and Community Development Chapter 40B Subsidized Housing Inventory identifies each city and town's participation in the program. According to the 2014 data, only 48 or 14% of the Massachusetts cities and towns, including Fall River, have gone beyond the 10% threshold. See, we're only required to have 10%, but of course we have more. And down a little bit, it says many have none at all. And keep in mind that for a project to be counted towards the 10% 40B requirement, only 25% of the project needs to meet the affordability qualifier. Only 25% of a project needs to meet that. This is a 1969 law. It's 2015, and it hasn't come close to its goal or intentions. Leave government to screw it up. But let's get to the numbers, all right? According to the Department of Housing and Community Development in the city of Fall River, 4,821 units represent 11.3% of the city's total units. Unfortunately, this data only tells part of the story, as Chapter 40B statistic does not count Section 8, now known as Housing Choice Vouchers. These are also present in each community and other affordable housing provided under federal auspices. In Fall River, the Fall River Housing Authority, David Sullivan, and Community Development Agency report that there are 2,000 Section 8 housing choice vouchers in Fall River. Additionally, there are 100 federally affordable units. This compounds with the reported 4,821 units in Fall River. Assuming that the total number of housing units is accurate, and you'll notice she says assuming, and you know about assumptions, which according to Massachusetts Executive Housing and Urban Development is 42,650, this would mean that the city of Fall River has a total of 6,921 rental assisted housing units, representing 16.2% of our total housing stock. Ah, but there's more. Fall River's share of rental assisted units is 60% higher than the state mandate, and this does not account for the count for social service agencies and federal homelessness programs such as First Step, Our Sister's Place, and Family Resource Center that are using funding for families and individuals throughout the city. This sends the percentage even higher. So as we can tell, just by this confirmation from State Representative Carole Fiola, and I applaud you, Representative Carole Fiola, on at least confirming what we've been talking about. But I have a problem with it because your husband, who is the vice president of the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction, keeps approving TIFs for market rate housing, and we know that you can't rent an apartment for $1,900 in Fall River. So with only 25% being required to be low income, but the law governing these TIFs for market rate housing says 50 units or 10%. that's Point Gloria going to happen all over again. So I think over dinner tonight, Rep. Fiola, maybe you should have a conversation with your husband and say, what are you doing? You're making me look bad because this is ridiculous.
Nah, they're making themselves look bad, CJ. The fact is that, look, we've got a very slow learning curve with our politicians in this city. I thought it was nice that the new city councilor, Steve Long, read the facts about the poverty level and the household income that we've been talking about for 2 years. I've done about 10 presentations in front of the city council, basically giving those statistics. And now we have Carole Fiola. And by the way, for all you people out there that say that when we give these facts, that we're negative and we're naysayers and we're the bane of the city of Fall River, that, you know, if you don't like it, move out. Well, guess what? Is Carole Fiola a state representative now? Is she a naysayer? You know, is she negative? No. She actually is doing what we do. She's talking about facts. The fact is really simple. We are the dumping ground for all the low income, and then we have on the same on the same page, we have our mayor getting his economic task force. Well, what kind of economy are we going to have? We have said this for a long time, and that's going to segue me into something else about these label things. And I've said it before, but you know, I had a conversation with the city councilor about the presentation I made about the retirement board, and he said, "Oh, you weren't around? You left." When Kathy Ann got up and said that, you know, there's two sides to every story. Well, you see, this is the problem we have with this kind of stuff and with everything that goes on in government. It isn't a story. I'm not telling a story. I wasn't telling a story to the city council. I was reading statistics. The numbers that I said for the Fall River contribution came directly from the Fall River and New Bedford retirement boards. The fact that we were 80% funded in 2002 and only 40%, we're second from the bottom in the state now, is from PERAC, the state that's in charge of these things, the retirement system, the state agency that puts together these things. So Kathy and counselors that like to, that's the problem here. You know, we look at facts, and when we present facts, we tell you they're facts, and we tell you where we got them from. So we're not telling a story. If I'm giving my version, and it's a story, and it's a theory, or it's a hypothetical, I will say that. But what I did in front of the city council was give them facts. Facts that they underfunded the retirement system, that they're at fault, and the fact that they're refusing to pay on time even though the money was budgeted. And Kathy Ann said that there's two sides to the story. Well, there's no side because it wasn't a story. As I said, it's facts. But this is the diversionary tactic they use, because she gets paid to muddy the water, to lie, to mislead, to cloud the issue. What is she going to say? I don't know what her story is, but I'll tell you her side of the story. They paid what they were told to pay. But what she's not going to tell you is the city called Boston and asked for special consideration to figure out our contribution in a way that had an adverse impact on the retirement system. They were projecting 8.5% interest in a time when people were getting 1% and 2% interest. Of course, the retirement system's going to fall on its face. You know, it's government bureaucrats piling on the manure to cover their incompetence and the fact that they take every single taxpayer dollar they can and divert it into something that will help their political career or pay one of their cronies a salary. And that's what really upsets me. And I'm sick and tired of it. And this only reaffirms it. Carole Fiola has been living in Fall River her entire life, as far as I know. Where the hell has she been? She just figured this out? Everybody that walks the streets of Fall River knows how much housing we have. They know what kind of demographic we have in this city. You know, as I said, this again, like the CPA, proves that we have two types of people in this city. We have the rich people in the North End where all the CPA goes, and their $200,000 and up salaries, and we have the regular people who are scratching to survive, who can't pay for their prescriptions, who are living on very small fixed incomes. And they don't get it. They don't live in that world. They don't leave their ivory tower and walk around in these neighborhoods. And I'm telling you, I'm sick and tired of their BS. This is, look, campaign season, and now we're investigating Windowgate.
Yep.
Again. So it's like, look, I love campaign season because the politicians remove their head from their derriere for 5 minutes and pretend they're looking into stuff.
But you know,
but let me tell you something, CJ, and then you can take it.
No, I'm not going to take it.
But it's like, there's going to be a press conference tomorrow with the Attorney General, and they're going to talk about the investigation, and our mayor's going to, our mayor who said that, hey, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. But now all of a sudden it's back. It's campaign season. He's looking to get reelected. Guess what? I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm a gambler, man. If you want a better coffee, call up, leave your name, I'll buy you a coffee. I'll bet you that if they have that investigation, once this election is over, there'll be no finding, or everybody will forget we ever had an investigation.
Exactly. And interestingly, because I reached out to Maura Healey's office a few months ago, and they said they can't confirm or deny that an investigation is happening. And they did say, though, that while we cannot confirm or deny that an investigation is occurring, it has been decided that the city of Fall River will undergo procurement training, which I guess that's what the $508,000 contract was for the computers. You know, they procured it, that's it. But interestingly enough, from my inside sources, plus comments made by the mayor on other media outlets, he said that it is quite possible that this matter will be turned over to an outside investigation agency. Could that be the retired federal prosecutor who found Mayor Flanagan less than credible?
But no finding.
But no finding, that's right, no finding. And it gets better, though. Isn't it amazing that this is happening on Thursday, right after the local media, print and radio, follow the mayor around and take pictures and talk about his new law office on Rock Street, and everyone is, you know, falling at his feet in the streets, you know, praising him, and you should have ran for mayor, and we want you back. And how much does that say to Mayor Sam Sutter and City Councilor Jaisla Correa and candidates Michael Renzi and Jordan James Sylvia and Robert Alexander, when the people on the streets are more in touch with former Mayor William Flanagan, who was kicked out of office by these same people?
And they still don't get it.
No.
And they still don't, that's what gets me, and they still don't get it, because on the radio yesterday he said that, you know, even if they find out what happened in Windowgate, there shouldn't be any disciplinary action or anything like this. I mean, hey, people, that's the reason we had a recall. The guy's an incompetent. If he's as bad a lawyer as he was a mayor, he's going to starve to death.
Well,
because the fact is, look, you want to put a guy back in who's basically said, I don't care what people do. If they're part of the political team, nothing can happen to them. There are no consequences and no accountability. We find out the person who wasted taxpayers' money, and we're going to have procurement training? Really? Is that your answer? That's the government answer to everything, because now we're going to train them. Well, I thought when you hired a financial team and paid every one of them over $100,000, they're supposed to know the law. They're supposed to know what the procurement procedures are. But we're going to train them. That is government incompetency at its greatest, and it never changes, because years ago, before I got on the fire department, I worked for the federal government for a short time after I got out of the military. And there was a situation at where I worked at Quonset Point as a civilian, where they had some people who were not performing well in their job, and they should have been fired. They were actually terrible. So what did the federal government do? They had this big investigation as to why these people were incompetent, which was probably because they were incompetent, they couldn't do the job. And in private industry, they would have said, okay, you know, we hired you as a mechanic, and you can't fix anything, so you're fired. So, no, but what did the federal government come up with? What was their answer? The federal government came down and said, we have to retrain these people. And if they're not trained sufficiently, it's going to be the supervisors who are going to be disciplined, because it's your job to make these people, even though they probably couldn't. As Brock Lesnar once said in the Ultimate Fighter, he said, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And the fact is, that's the reality. Some things just can't be done. But with the government, it's always about, hey, forget about it. Incompetency is in private industry is a ticket to the unemployment line. In government, incompetence is a ticket to a fat paycheck and a lifestyle where you're asked to do nothing for it.
Well, this is Fall River, and we know it. So we've identified some of our problems, which we've done numerous times.
Yeah, but it doesn't count when we do it.
I know, it doesn't count when we do it.
Doesn't count.
But, this is getting to be absolutely nutty. It's election season. Nobody is involved, okay? You don't hear any city councilors saying anything. And then WSAR co-hosts Wayne Rigo and Brian Bigelow, I guess had an out of some type with a mayoral candidate, and they felt threatened. I mean, they said it came via text, but when they were questioned on it, whether on air or in public, they never made any comment. They wouldn't give you any details. They wouldn't give you any facts on it. They wouldn't even show you the text. So now we have a mayoral candidate who is a thug. and you have to say, really? Are all our mayors meeting at midnight down at the waterfront in a black sedan? I mean, this is getting to be atrocious. It's a joke. It's a joke to the nth degree. This has gone beyond sublime.
Oh, it is. Because
I mean,
you're right. I mean, but all this stuff is to stop the people from doing what we said, paying attention to what's going on in the city. Okay, here's Exhibit 1. A state rep said one of the major problems with the economy in Fall River is we're bringing in people with no money.
Right.
We're bringing in people who actually burden the economy because of all the social services and the other things they need. So, number one, we've been saying that for years, but we're ignored. And this is the problem with Fall River. They come up with these diversions. Window gate resurfaces. So everybody can start talking about window gate and who is to blame and blah, blah, blah. But, fine. There should be consequences and there should be accountability. The taxpayers' money was wasted. But that doesn't relieve you as a citizen, as a taxpayer, as a voter, to look at what's happening. Look at Fall River. Look at the economy. Look at the statistics. Listen. Instead of, like I said, they have their cadre of spin doctors who every time somebody says something they don't like, they all come running out of the woodwork and accuse us of being negative, thugs, whatever, who cares, and we're idiots, move out of the city, love it or leave it, and they start wrapping themselves in the we'll try symbol of Fall River, and then they go back to the old mantra. These people, Fall River's beautiful. How dare they say this place is not a beautiful place? Who said? Listen, I have said time and time again, Fall River has tremendous potential. Our location, we are basically in the center of a hub with 20 minutes from Providence, 20 minutes from Newport, 30 minutes from the Lower Cape. 45, 50 minutes with good traffic to the outskirts of Boston. You have various ways to get to Boston if you work. You can work anywhere. Avail yourself of Fall River's, accessibility to all these locations, and then take advantage of its lower cost of living. But the fact is that, listen, you got to be realistic. Yeah, and anybody who has any kind of problem, the first way you cure that problem is to acknowledge that you have a problem, because if you acknowledge you have a problem, then you can begin to fix the problem, But as I said, here it is. This is very fortuitous, because this comes out and this proves exactly what we said. We have said this for 2 years, and nobody cared. We went before the council, we've done numerous shows, made these statistics, but Carole Fiola's put it out now. So is that
Now
all-
it's gospel.
Now it's gospel. Now it's okay. So, as I said, don't kill the messenger because you dislike the message. But the fact is, in order for Fall River to move forward, we need people that have to make a realistic assessment of Fall River. And this is the campaign season. And you are going to have to wade your way through so many diversionary issues that they're going to throw everything at you. They're going to throw hot dogs at you, although they haven't had a chow mein sandwich dinner yet, but that's coming. After the primary, that's coming.
Yep.
And now they're giving out, what are they giving out now? There was something else we were discussing the other day. Rather than a hot dog, I said they're doing that instead of a hot dog. They're giving...
They're doing hot dogs, hamburgers, they're doing spaghetti.
No, but they were doing something else. They did something. They were giving out vouchers or something, doing something. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever. But look, they're going to give you everything. They're going to talk about all these past issues, and they're all going to be resurrected, and they're going to pretend they cared. Well, guess what? How long ago was Windowgate?
Right.
And now it's resurfacing. You think it's coincidental that it's resurfacing now, right before a primary? That's number one, to get you back on Windowgate, who Sam Sutter can say, oh, I had nothing to do with this. I wasn't the mayor. And also show that he's involved in this, But don't forget, like I said, do your homework. Don't forget. He basically said, look, forget about it. No finding, and let's put this in the rearview mirror. And you know something? You got to move on. But the fact is, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
But
the city of Fall River has continually ignored the facts, and it's time. And I hope every single city council candidate and every single candidate to every office pays attention to this stuff. And I want to hear one of them get enough intestinal fortitude to say that we've got to cut our housing down to the minimum of the state requirement.
And this is easily done by the city council. Every time a variance, every time a TIF, every time somebody files for a permit to convert a mill into quote-unquote market rate housing, you deny it. You make it a policy and you deny it. And if you approve it and it's market rate housing, the percentage of apartments that can be low income are zero. And you can't really restrict how a company does business. And that's where it becomes a problem. You can restrict permitting, you can restrict licensing. And that's what you have to do. I know people want to save their mills and they want to do whatever they can to do. But you know what? The creation of more housing is not going to do it. Now, interestingly enough, this goes along with the national policy because President Obama came up with his gentrification policy. And that's why I think Carole Fiola jumped on board, is the gentrification policy means that every single community in the country must have low-income housing in their neighborhoods. You tell me how you're going to get a 10% requirement of low-income housing in Wellesley. How are you going to do that?
Well,
we can't even do it in Westport.
Well, their low-income housing in Wellesley is like, it's only a $400,000 house.
Right. Exactly.
It's not a $2 million house.
But interestingly enough, Carole said in this statement, okay, I believe that Fall River needs to fully understand its subsidized housing issue before we continue to facilitate growth in an area where there seems to be a never-ending source of state and federal money. That's the key. The city can't turn down a federal dime no matter where it comes from.
And
the
greedy people who make the subsidized rents are making money with and they're getting TIFs.
Right.
And as you said, the problem is that, we are feeding this monster. We are enabling this monster.
What I would love to get is a listing on every single candidate who owns property in Fall River and find out how many Section 8 apartments they have. Let's find that out. Because you know what? It's the landlord's responsibility. You don't have to accept Section 8. You do it because you're a greedy little property monger, okay, that wants to make sure you get your money. And I understand that. I own property. I don't accept Section 8. Not because I'm discriminatory, but because I don't need the headaches. If the property money is so important to you, more power to you. But I firmly believe that if even 10% of the landlords that currently accept Section 8 do not accept it any further, I think you'll start to see a dramatic decrease. And remember, when we stop accepting Section 8, when we stop with these low-income rentals, we can increase our rents, we can increase our economy, we can bring jobs to Fall River. You can't bring a job here when nobody wants to work.
Well, the problem too is that, look, government perpetuates itself. Look,
Yes, it does.
Look, there's no way you're going to make Newton and Wellesley put 10% of these people in their economy. I don't care who says that to do it, they're not going to do it. The reality is it is a tale of two cities. Ironically enough, I was talking to a guy the other day who said, you know, I live alongside wetlands, and they told me when I bought my house that nobody would build on the property that abuts my wetland property. And he said, there's 4 houses going up. And he said, I ran into somebody and I said, why is this housing being built? He said, because the right contractor is going to build it.
Right.
So the fact is, in government, you know, government perpetuates itself. Government is a necessary evil. It's not something that you stimulate the economy with, as they say in Keynesian economics. It's not something that you use to subsidize your economy. It's a necessary evil that's there to provide essential services to the public. And in the city of Fall River, it has become it's become an economic engine for patronage, for subsidized housing, for TIFs, and everybody here should be sick and tired of enabling this community to be what it is. The fact is that every time, and as CJ said, listen, we've said it time and time again, the reality is we hear the city council whining, we can't do anything. Well, you can. They talk about the pay raises given out. Well, guess what? You fund the pay raises. And if you don't fund them, they can't get them because you hold the purse strings.
That's right.
You know, it's like your kid saying, I want a $50 a week allowance. You say, yep, okay, you're not getting it. Well, she can say she's getting a $50 allowance, but she's not getting it if you don't give her the money.
That's right.
So, you know, it's the same thing with TIFs. We give out a TIF. When was the last TIF that they denied?
They don't deny them.
I mean,
I'd like
to do a in-depth investigation and find out the last TIF that was ever denied in Fall River. And
better than that, the last TIF that actually produced something for Fall River.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they'll never do that stat because that stat will blow them up. But if they do, it'll take Boston and Fall River 50 years to figure it out, even though we told them right out of the gate.
Yep. Real quick, I'm going to be on hiatus for a short period of time for health reasons. I will not be here on Friday's show. Monday, we will not be having a show. And it kind of hurts a little bit here. I'm going to try to get back to the show as soon as possible. I will be still making commentary online. And if I can even get on the show from home, I will do that. And we have set it up so I may potentially do that. But knowing me, I'll find a way to get in here, even if I got to drag myself in on my butt.
Well, I want to wish you, you know, I hope everything goes well with the surgery. And,
I appreciate that.
And, you know, if they happen to lose your foot, I know a guy, I know a place that sells one shoe.
Okay. So, but remember, you're responsible for this. Our debate is coming up on the 16th of September. We're putting it all together. And we want your questions. Send them into debate@scstonline.com. And remember, this is your debate. Make sure you get the questions into us so we can do this. So we can have a great debate and the questions can be answered of every one of these candidates. It's been great being here with you guys, and I'm going to miss being here, and I'm going to get back here as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. You have a great day.
Stay angry and stay educated.
Always a good show.